Welcome back to another episode of our Message Recap, the show where we recap messages. And we started a brand new series this week called
Make America,
Make Christianity Great
Yes.
Again. And Kevin, you threw out the disclaimer right away. You're like, I know it sounds political, but that but that wasn't the point. Why don't you just quickly recap what we dove into?
We would have left it political, except you guys decided to go red and blue.
The original graphic was total red,
Yeah.
Trump font. And I just thought,
Yeah.
we should.
Well, he thought of it first.
He did.
So making America great again.
I would love to have been that graphic designer. I pay you millions of dollars for your campaign. Red background, white text. Done.
No kidding.
Simple is better.
Easiest job in the world.
You know what? Great series. This was the first one, but you don't want to miss any of them. Great series, making Christianity great again. And we did kind of kick it off with saying that entropy is the second law of thermodynamics, which means everything kind of falls apart. Everything slips. Everything goes.
Over time.
And we know over time it just does. And Christianity is no different than that. And I'm amazed at what every day, just being around people, what people think Christianity is. And it's really slipped. It's gotten, we need, this isn't just a one-time series. This is something we need to do daily in our lives. Always keep the main thing. What is Christianity? What was it intended to be? And let's get back to the roots of Christianity. Let's make Christianity great again.
Yeah.
Because it has slipped into other things badly, actually.
Well, and there's people that don't even really know. There's some Christians that don't even know what Christianity is.
Yes.
There's a lot of pastors who don't know what Christianity really is.
So that's kind of why I think it's great. I know the whole point is hey, this right here is what Christianity actually is. I don't know how we've gotten 1,000 different points with 1,000 subsections off of those points, but this is what Christianity is.
And what's amazing to me is how simple Christianity really is.
Yeah.
And I think, and we kid a lot, but I think sometimes people on purpose complicate it because they got to feel like they're getting paid for something. If I'm the pastor, I got to know some secrets that most people will never know.
Yeah.
It's not that way. It's a very, very simple concept. It's a very simple, God loves human beings, created us for relationship. That relationship was broke. All of Christianity is bringing that relationship back. It's really that simple. Now, I know there's other details into how to do that simpler or how to, make that accomplished, but it's through Jesus Christ, and it's very simple what it's really about.
Yeah. Well, I think that's we've joked about that too, where it's you got to come up with a message. You got to come up with something. We're people might get bored of hearing the same thing, but it's story ain't changing. We're not going to start making something up. This is what it is,
I think, because I wasn't in the service, so I watched it later on YouTube, and I thought that exact same thing, because I've heard the same comment. People get bored with this, but I try and put myself back in the first century followers' shoes, where maybe all they had was one letter, or maybe a couple that got circulated around. Well, that's kind of all that's in those letters too. What do you mean? And they were fine. Changed the world. They were awesome. You can't.
I'm bored now. I need something new. I'm bored.
Bored of Jesus paying the price for your eternal salvation when you didn't deserve it.
Yeah. Can't there be more? God, can you show me you love me? Give me a truck. Really? Wow. Show me you love me.
You know what, though? If you ask most people today, would you rather have God give you a truck or do what he did? I think most people would want a truck.
Don't even go there. That is...
You're breaking Kevin's heart.
Don't you see that in the way people act, think, what they value, what they care about, what's the most important?
Yeah.
They might never say it,
right?
But it's clear in people's lives. No, I'd rather have a truck.
And it's clear, honestly, in a lot of Christians' lives, they're very earthly minded and not very where we're going minded. They're not very heaven focused. They're very what's now, what's here, what's tangible in my life now.
There's a little point that we made yesterday in the message, was just that God's intention was for our relationship with him to be always. And I think we think too much, well, when we get to heaven. This earth is, when we get to heaven, we're going to be with God. No, we can be with God right now.
It starts now. Yep.
You know, not physically, but spiritually, we can be with God right now. And that's what he came to give us. Something we didn't have time to talk about was what you had just mentioned, that the early church just had one letter from Paul and they passed it around or whatever. But the actual, at least what's recorded, what we have in the book of Acts mostly, is the preaching that was done by Peter, by Paul, by Philip, by Stephen, you know, all of these messages that they gave. Those messages were extremely simple. It was about the death, burial, and resurrection. Jesus is the Christ. That was the message. Jesus is the Savior. It wasn't all about how to live a great life. It just wasn't how to be blessed. It was Jesus is the Messiah. And they went through, because most of them are Jewish, went through all of the, you know, prophecies about, this is what this whole book was about, is about the Messiah coming. Jesus is him.
Yeah.
You know, reunite us to God. It's a very simple, simple thing.
How have we made it so unbelievably complicated? I know we've mentioned a few things, but it's like, how have we got, I mean, even the Bible, you know what I mean? I think the Bible is overcomplicated as well, where we're talking about this simple thing where it's, hey, here's kind of the main point, you know what I mean? But,
you know,
how do we run down all these rabbit holes and then we get, you know, tons of different understandings of the same issue, the same topic? I don't know.
Answer that.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you asked that question. I am so glad, because I think it's on how we read the Bible.
Yeah.
And, you know, a principle is read it from the macro to the micro. Like, what's the whole idea here? And then all of the other lines, whatever, explain the big idea. But when we read the Bible the other way, and we've come accustomed to doing that, word studies or one sentence taken out of context.
Graduation cards.
Yeah. All kinds of little word for the day stuff, all that. It's when we read the Bible one sentence at a time without the big picture.
Yeah.
We can make those sentences make up almost anything imaginable. And that's where we get off, is we just have not been instructed properly on how to read the Bible. It's we make doctrine out of sentences instead of ideas.
We were talking about this in small group the other day, that somebody asked a question kind of like that, hey, the Bible thing, because I had mentioned a few months earlier, Jeremiah 29:11, for the I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper.
Yeah, that's my life.
Whatever.
Oh, don't play.
It wasn't written
But they
for
were
you.
asking, like, well, you know, what do you think about that? And I just explained, okay, let's read 1 through 10.
Yep.
Verses 1 through 10, then we'll read 12 and 13. And, like, let's get the context. But that one sounds so good and sounds so American and sounds so, I want a new truck.
Yep.
That's just, we just pick out 11 and totally forget that God was speaking through a prophet to the elders and priests of Israel who were in captivity to Babylon for 70 years. And like,
And God had a plan for Israel.
He was going to
And this
fulfill
was
his
not
promise.
it. Yeah.
But
it has
oh,
nothing.
man.
So not necessarily Johnny Jakubowski year 2020. Like, that wasn't.
Definitely not
No.
year 2020.
So what you would say is, hey, if you know you're reading Jeremiah 29:11, you're like, oh, God has a plan for me to prosper. You're saying go read 1 through 10, and then read 11,
and then go read the New Testament.
and then just
I would
flip forward to the New Testament.
I would even back up further and start with what is
Jeremiah
the
1?
what is the whole plan for Israel?
Yeah.
Why did God call Abraham?
Start in Genesis.
You got to look at the whole picture, and then all of the lines are talking about the whole picture. To answer your question, how did we get screwed up? I think number one, that is it. We read the Bible,
By
we
sentence.
make doctrine out of
Cherry pick.
sentences and cherry pick and miss. That is not what that says. That is not that intention. And
that's how Christianity gets so
screwed up.
construed because
people.
you have
People.
well, basically, yeah. I
Comes
mean,
on
because
people.
you have pastors doing that same thing, and then they have a message about it in front of 300 people that then go talk to so and so. But you got another pastor 20 miles away that picked a different sentence for the day and spoke to another 300 people.
And we've been like playing the telephone game for
kidding.
like, 500 years since the Reformation.
So that's
even
why
longer before that you mentioned how crazy Christianity got there. And every time you hear it, it gets a little more muffled and distorted and off topic and not the gospel and not what God has plans to prosper us, but it ain't with a new truck.
It's with heaven.
It's inside.
Okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And another thing, I think that's the main thing, but there's another reason why, or other reasons why we get so hard. How does Christianity get to selling forgiveness for money? I mean, how did it get there, And besides reading line by line and taking it, distorting it, I think also our emotions get involved, our wants. I can make this say what I want it to say instead of what it really says. I think controlling people has a lot to do with it. Wow, I have I have an area in my life I'm really strong in, so I'm going to emphasize one thing the Bible might say and make this a new rule for people. And you know what? You can make the Bible say what you want. You can. So it's our selfishness, our emotions, our pride, all of that can really screw up Christianity. So we need to always go back to what is this thing about?
Yeah, well,
Let's make it great again.
Yeah.
I'm just like, maybe I mean, we could probably wrap this up, but I'm going to continue it for at least another minute because why do we do that with the Bible? Like, I've never once done that with a textbook in school. When I'm reading a history book, I'm not like, oh, well, I think this happened that way instead of that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't understand that, why we do it with the Bible.
That's an interesting question.
But we don't really. Yeah. Maybe people do it with other things. I've just never thought that way before. But that's the whole point of why we're doing this is because Christianity is simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
And it is pretty great. So let's make Christianity great again. And this was just the base, but we have 3 more weeks coming after this.
That are all going to build on that one.
We're going to dive in. It's going to get super complicated.
We're going to unveil the 200-step plan to making Christianity great
just
again.
Kidding. It's very simple. So let's make it great again. Go back and watch that message. Sorry. If you haven't already, that's the title message, Make Christianity Great Again. It'll pop up here in a second. But yeah, definitely this series is going to be good. So stick around for this if you've had... If you are a non-Christian and you've had questions about Christianity,
this is a good one.
Yeah, no doubt. If you are a Christian and you've gotten fogged up and you're unsure of why you're even doing what you're doing.
This is a good one.
This is a good one. So stick around for this.
For sure.
We will be back next week with another recap. So come back for that. Have a great week.